Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the featured news and the most important article in news these days, that is the budget 2022-2023. Along with the budget, we will understand key components of what was the reason of presenting of a budget in this particular manner. The strategies behind the budget, what has been the impetus of this particular budget, the 4 strategies used by the government this time, and what will be the implications of this. We will understand this whole schema in totality so that there is no stone left unturned to understand the schemes which have been initiated by the government, the rationale for the same. We will also understand some basic concepts like fiscal deficit, revenue deficit. We will also understand the ways the government has ensured the flowing of outlays, right? How it has planned the expenditure in the coming year, right? So very, very important conversation. Summating a lot of knowledge that many of us have help in creating, and so this is what we are here for, right? So I would like to welcome all the participants. Good evening, Amlan, Kriti, welcome. Hi Bhabani, Hima, Anonymous, Pooja, Ashish, Sam, Netra, good evening. And we do have welcome back Asim. All right, and then Somik and other people joining. Welcome to all of you. I posed a question to you. What has been the rationale behind government's strategy of budget this time, right? And you people did point out some important strategies, what government looked at while looking at preparing the budget or where it should spend the money, and I rightly agree with you. However, the points that I put, you would like to see that as well, right? Maybe it adds to your knowledge, but I understand the points that you have put are absolutely logical and the key challenges as well. So thank you for putting this. People viewing offline, please do ensure that you mention these challenges so that this is what is the thing that exercises your brain, right? So Somik, good evening. Vakram, good evening. Hi Ravi, hi Ramesh, good evening to all of you. Babani says bureaucrat look today. Bureaucrat, so this is what you have to become. After you get in, you will wear this Jodhpuri. Until then, let me enjoy wearing this for a while, right? This is my first Jodhpuri. All right, so here we have the gazette just came to us in the PDF format. So Pooja, it will get uploaded in a very short while, right? So this is the document for us and alongside a background story of this. So let me share the background story first so that you understand the key concepts, right? So have a look. You people mentioned me the reasons, you people mentioned with me the reasons for why this budget was presented in a way it was presented, right? The way it has, expenditures have happened. You people have rightly mentioned a lot of points. For example, the challenges were digital currency, digital education, enhancing ease of doing business, geopolitical resilience, empowering women. All right, great, right? Then some of you say external debt, economy, health sector. No, I agree with you. But what are the pinching points? The pinching points, education, yes, long-term pinching point. But then, Amlan, if you put this, I would like to know what is the kind of data about it. Education sector, health sector, have we not discussed? Right, 6% of GDP mandated, but 3% expenditure. Right, in health mandated 3%, but spending 1.26%. So if you present to me these those rhetorical points, rhetorical means repeated points, then you got to present some more credibility with this. Now let us look at some more points why the budget was presented in this particular manner, and then we will understand the rationale of this budget, and through that the budget outlays. It will be very easy for you to remember all the points if you know the conditions which led to the formation of this budget. All right, so let's do this in very interesting conceptual discussion today. Yes, and all the people who are watching for the first time, we have discussed the economic survey day before yesterday, and then we discussed the budget yesterday itself, and today again we have some portions of the budget. All right, so first thing, there was a gradual slowdown happening in the economy in the last 4 or 5 years. This is absolutely true. And this got accelerated because of the COVID times. But again, there was a very quick bounce, right? So first is the gradual slowdown that was happening. But look at the last 2 years. What has happened? The pandemic has happened. Because of this pandemic, lot of new chain occurrences of events have happened. So because of a pandemic, there was a lockdown. Because of lockdown, there was a disruption in scientific understanding, disruption in technology, disruption in the economic life cycle as well. Disruption does not mean stoppage. Disruption also means creation of something new, right? So disruptive changes have happened in economy, society, science and technology after the last 2 years, right? So this is one of the major contexts in which the budget has been released, right? The pandemic and the effects of the pandemic, not only bad, but the good ones. Climate change, again an impetus, IPCC 6th report, and along with that, the force on clean energy transition. So this is another reason, cause for change. What about Industrial Revolution 4.0? With the upcoming data revolution, what we want is artificial intelligence. What we want is Internet of Things. What we want is industrial Internet of Things, right? Automation, cloud computing. So this is one of the important prerogatives for every government, and so the Indian government. Because of pandemic and because of issues previously, China was always a concern. In light of China also, there have been some components in the budget. We will discuss that. Conflicts around the whole world. Look at Middle East region. Look at Central Asia. 2 conflicts going on, at least 2 conflicts in Europe. Right, so one is Ukraine, third one is Belarus, second one is Belarus, third one is Poland. At least 3 kind of crises. And what about the internal? These are the international crises. Internal crisis in countries like France, UK, many other places. Look at the what Canada is going through. Mr. Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, chased away by the truckers because of COVID issues. Right, so internal and external conflicts. A country like countries in Africa. As many as 5 economies, 5 countries in Africa have gone through a major transition, right? And so has the subcontinent. Look at a country like Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Myanmar. See? So India has to have some budget outlays considering the kind of conflicts happening internationally. What about the oil reserves? Oil prices have risen. COVID pandemic and conflicts. Terrorism, global terrorism, geopolitics, East Asia, the focus center, epicenter of geopolitics. So these are some of the major contexts in which the budget has been released, right? So one thing is this, right? And what has been the output of these challenges? The output of these challenges have been, so please note down each of them. Each of them are very, very important words for you. They can frame a complete answer around this. Remember the 4 C's we spoke of? 3 of them right here: China, COVID, corruption, and counter-terrorism. 4 C of them, right? Now, all this led to oil prices rise, supply shocks, forced displacement of people. Remember, we have covered 1% of the people in the world globally displaced, liquidity crisis, container crisis, inflation, all of it. This is the context of the formation of our budget this year, right? And before we get into the data of the budget, the fiscal deficit levels, primary deficit, what is the future projections for it, we must understand the strategy used for this budget, right? So if you look at this strategy of the crisis that the country has gone through in the last two years, you would see that there is a, speaking of a barbell strategy. This was spoken of in the economic survey as well, and it was spoken of the last year as well. But the government has applied this barbell strategy this time, right? If you remember, we had discussed the agile approach. Do you remember? Agile approach. This was the theme of the economic survey, right? A review of the whole year. This was the theme of the economic survey. And this is one of the pillars of the budget as well. So the economic survey, which largely was a different document, and the budget usually would be a different document. Budget would be how much do we want to spend. An economic survey is the survey of the economy in the past year, right? The state of the economy. But this time they have actually integrated the survey. This was the logical thing to do. What are the shortcomings? What are the good points? And in the context of the last 2 years, we have also prepared a budget. How much to spend, where to spend. And they have tried doing this through this barbell strategy. Now this strategy, this barbell strategy is opposed to a waterfall strategy. Waterfall strategy. We would use this strategy traditionally where a perspective plan, a 5-year plan would be introduced by the government. This is what was happening previously, a 3-year plan, right? This was the waterfall strategy. But what we have shifted to is a barbell strategy. Barbell strategy has 2 components, right? See, just like the dumbbell and weightlifting instruments in the gym. This barbell has got a stability factor. This stability factor is because of two different sides of the weights. They have to be equal. One of the weighing side is agility, and the second side is social security. Let me explain this to you. Very smartly designed, good strategy. So let's understand what both of these are. If we understand this, understanding of whatever Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman spoke of, understanding of each of the fragments of budget will be very, very simplified for each of you. So agility approach is the approach in which the government will take short-term measures, 1 year, 2 year, say maximum 3-year measure, and the government will refocus or realign its strategies for future growth. Agility approach. The basis of agility approach is the availability of data, quick data. So what kind of data? See, yesterday we understood GIS, map data, government reports, right? Quick surveys. These are the data government is going to rely on, and availability of such digital transactions. Digital transaction does not only mean financial transaction. Digital transaction also means storing of health data online. It also means if people are studying online education, YouTube, this is an example. This is the digital transaction that is happening. And on the basis of these transactions, government will be agile enough. It will be flexible. Agility is flexibility, twists and turns. They'll be able to make quick turns and twists according to the needs of the time. Agility approach. This is the approach through which the government has planned its outlay, expenditure for this coming year, and it will also have it for the coming few years on the basis of this, because of the kind of pandemic that we have gone through, because of the kind of external crisis that is going around in the world. Oil prices rising and falling, right? Corona waves coming and going, 3 of them already happening. What about other issues, right? Many crises we are still going through. Having said that, availability of laborers, yes, and then a few months down, no. So agility approach is very important. This is one component of it. Now, the other component of it is social security. See, in the agility approach, the advantage is that we are able to quickly mold ourselves to the situation, right? But on the other hand, the shortcoming of this is that we are not able to see the long-term picture. We will be able to course a map, we will be able to move, but we don't know what we are going to envisage or envision after 5 years or after 10 years. We will be able to course a map depending on what is happening, what we are able to overcome, and we'll be able to ride through that issue. But we don't know what is going to happen in long term, 5, 10 or 15 years long term perspective. So agility approach has small feedback loops in which government will do some course correction, but it will not have a larger picture with it. And for the same, it will impact some marginal groups, sometimes maybe the workforce, right? Possible if you're automating jobs in short-term perspective to increase growth of the country, it might impact the workforce. If we are increasing our exports, this is what the ministers have clearly said. If we are increasing the exports, we will have to liberalize the economy. That means incoming imports also will increase. That means we will have to make certain sectors vulnerable. If we do that, this is going to impact certain sectors. Simple enough. Right? So cotton sector, agricultural sector, food processing sector will get impacted when milk from America will get imported to India. When agricultural products from Europe will get imported to India, certain sectors will get impacted. And for the same, because agile approach cannot see long-term future, we will have to give security. We will have to enhance the security measures, social security measures for various vulnerable sections. This is going to be the balancing part of the part which leads the growth. It is leading to growth, but it might not provide safety net to everybody. This safety net is getting provided through the social security and other measures, right? And what kind of social security measures? See, Manrega is one. So job guarantee is one. But then creation of assets. Remember, we spoke of whether provide a fish or teach them fishing. We provide them fish for today. The fish is not there for tomorrow because they have eaten the fish today. It is not there today, tomorrow. So job guarantee is giving them a fish for today, but not teaching them to fish. They will be able to fish by themselves if we create the pond. right? So if the government focuses on security nets, on safety nets through jobs, this is one. Creation of assets for various other ways, health, education. Oh, keep on going on this, right? We will discuss each of them. We will discuss the schemes, and we will also understand why, what is the rationale of putting money in specific sector or in specific other sector. One simple example is, if we are not increasing the outlay for Manrega scheme, but we are increasing the outlay for creation of ponds, very simple. For ponds, this is a productive thing because we are increasing the capital expenditure creation. The social net, the safety net is there. We are increasing assets for the government, for the people, but it is not just revenue expenditure, it is capital expenditure. You understand this? If you do, then you let me know. We'll start to look at the features of it, right? So this is the barbell strategy. This is as opposed to the other strategy, that was the waterfall strategy, right? So very, very smartly designed, and know the shortcomings or the inputs that were given from the economic survey of the last year. They have been well incorporated in the budget. So very well integrated, comprehensive economic survey and budget presented together. All right. So this agile approach will have 80 indicators. 80 indicators. See, I picked it up. 80 high frequency indicators in an environment of extreme uncertainty. Government document only saying. And the basis of this agile approach is the wealth of the real-time data. Wealth of real-time data. And from where do we have this? GIS, digital transactions, online surveys, government reports, etc., etc. All right. So this is one component. You guys there with me? You are able to understand what I am speaking of? These are the most important components of understanding the basics of the Indian budget scenario. Paper 3, a lot of discussions of social security, social developments from paper 2, they will get covered through this, right? And once you understand this, you will be able to understand the outlays or expenditure in each of these schemes, right? So this is a quick background. I will come back to this, right, while discussing the budget part. And what else do we have here? Oh yes. So as I mentioned, these are the challenges. The effects of the challenges are this, and barbell agile framework, safety nets, right? And this is the reason that revenue expenditure is, they are trying to decrease it and they are trying to increase the capital outlay. All right. So the issue of short-term maneuverability of the budget is that long-term strategy cannot be seen. Simple enough. All right. And this is the reason we need a safety net for people, because some people will get impacted through this short-term strategy. And this is the reason that the finance minister gave the four-pronged strategy for this budget. 4 emphasis areas were infrastructure under Gati Shakti. This is one. The second one was related to what were they? So one of them was roping in investments. I remembered them in a very, very easy way. So infrastructure creation, and second one, I don't want to be wrong, but I think this was the social development. So social programs, and the third one was investments, garnering investments, and there was another one. We will discuss each of these 4, and through these 4 you will quickly understand that yes, each of them either focus on short-term improvement. The fourth one was investment. The third one was sunrise sectors or investment in particular field, right? Those PLI schemes, etc. All the schemes by the government, and how to rope in investment. This was the 4th part. First, second, third, and fourth. If you segregate each of them, they will become a part of the barbell strategy, either safety net or the increasing of the maneuverability during these transition times, right? And look at what we are trying to do this, how we are trying to do this. These are the keywords, friends. These are the keywords. We have become a vaccine economy. Not only as a response to the pandemic do we want to give vaccinations, but also as a strategy to increase economic growth in the country. Each time we have a pandemic, we will increase the production of vaccinations so that it caters to the people, the workforce. How? If we give them a booster dose, they will still keep coming to the work. That is the difference between India and a place like Africa, right? Export growth leading to $400 billion of export growth by the end of this year. We are looking at this. Supply chain resilience, agriculture initiatives, digital agriculture, digital initiatives, financial technology, GST, taxation, improving taxation, tax buoyancy. What is tax buoyancy? So tax buoyancy means maintaining or improving the level of taxes. Buoyancy means floating, no, keeping afloat. Maintaining or improving the level of taxation by the government by as with respect to the GDP. With respect to the GDP. So if the taxation is improving with respect to the GDP, that means the government might be taxing more, but no. Tax buoyancy means we are getting increased tax collection without increasing in taxation rates. This means either our structure is so good that we are able to tax a lot of base coverage is good, or the compliances norms have been made easier, which is true. I had shared more than 25,000 compliances have been reduced, right? Hundreds of laws have been retracted by the government to make compliance easier. These are examples for you. Tax buoyancy, right? And then capitalization of banking industry. In fact, capitalization of many other industries of the government, startups, PLI, or design linked incentive schemes, right? So this is how we are trying to rope in. Do remember these keywords. Okay. So moving ahead to the budget itself, let me show you what this budget entails for today, for us. When you look at the budget here, this is the quick analysis of the budget. Receipts and expenditure, right? So when you look at the budget, it is about how much we have received and how much is the expenditure. Expenditure can be planned expenditure or non-planned expenditure. Receipts can be revenue receipts and capital receipts. Expenditure can also be divided in revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, right? So before we get in, okay, let me tell you what is the difference. What is revenue deficit? What is fiscal deficit? Some of you asked. It will be a quick revision for each of you. So revenue deficit is the deficit in revenue collection and revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure and revenue deficit are those terms which are designated to tell about the expenditure and the income of the government of that particular year, right? For example, the examples of revenue deficit would be revenue expenditure would be salaries of the people, right? Would be subsidies amongst people, will be interest payments, right? There are innumerable examples of revenue expenditure. See, this is it. So revenue expenditure can be salary, interest payment, pension, administrative expenses, right? All of them is revenue expenditure. When we are funding the LTC, leave travel allowance for the government employees, this is revenue expenditure. Decrease on it. This is revenue expenditure. Revenue receipt is taxation. How much have we taken in as taxation, direct tax or indirect tax? What is the dividend, earning, interest paid to the government, not interest paid by the government, interest paid to the government of India. For example, Sri Lanka paying the government of India some interest rate, and the profits, right? India also has invested in many other countries, in many companies. So what is the dividend earned? What is the profit earned? These are all revenue receipts for this year. Now, this is where the revenue deficit plays a role. Revenue deficit. That means the total expenditure of that year and total expenditure, total receipt of that year. The difference is the revenue deficit. If it is zero, that means how much we received as revenue that year and how much we expended is equal. This is a good thing. But there's something called as, capital receipt. Capital receipt is what we have received as a result of what we invested in past years. So selling assets. For example, divestment of a PSU. If we receive some money, thousands of crores, this is selling of assets, capital receipts. Also, borrowings. These are capital receipts, right? The government of India borrows money. These will not be treated as revenue, but as capital, because we will have to pay this later in the subsequent years, right? Subsequently, capital expenditure is how we create assets, right? Example, creating of bonds. Example, passing on money in health expenditure, and long-term loans that we participate in. So this is the capital receipts. Now what happens actually is, you should know this part. revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is, as I explained, revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Quickly, yes. And then we have a fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit means if this total expenditure that was, that happened, it was more than the earnings, then that means we have had to take some borrowings, correct? Along with that, there would be borrowings if in case I'm creating capital assets more than my capital earnings. Yes, there will be borrowings. In that case as well, those two amounts, these borrowings of revenue and these borrowings of capital, they will be fiscal deficit. The net borrowing of the government, आमदनी अठन्नी खर्चा रुपया, that means 8 आना, they will be my fiscal deficit. All right, so we understood revenue deficit, fiscal deficit. All right, and then there are smaller components, for example, primary deficit and effective revenue deficit. So when revenue deficit has happened, that is fine, but if government has borrowed to create capital assets, and if government has borrowed to pay salary or interest or revenue payments, you understand the difference, no? So effective revenue deficit is understanding this kind of expenditure, the revenue expenditure. You remove from revenue deficit the capital expenditure, the positive expenditure for future times, then it becomes effective revenue deficit, because capital expenditure is always treated as a very, very good method of creation of assets and income generation for the future. Why? Because every entity, we have discussed this previously in editorials, I clearly remember, you invest 1 rupee in the capital creation, it will become 4 to 5 rupees because it has created capital for the times to come, even beyond that specific year. But if you give 1 rupee for a person to eat, it might create the impact of 1 to 2 rupees only. That's it. So this is a positive one, and effective revenue deficit ensures that we understand what is the proportion we are spending on only revenue expenditures, right? And then there is something called as primary deficit, right? Primary deficit. See, when we borrow, whatever borrowing is happening, when I said 8 annas, half a rupee spent on borrowing, this is not 8 anna that we have borrowed just for this year. We have borrowed also to pay back the interest of the last year. Interest also come in 40, 50, 80,000 crore rupees, right? So if we know that there are two components of this borrowing, one borrowing for this year and one paying the interest of the last year. If we segregate this, we will understand what is the primary deficit. So borrowings minus interest payment, what has been the effective borrowing only for this year, right? So these are the 4 components of the budget, and in this slide, let me show you what the government has actually planned this year, right? So you see, we have expended around 37 lakh crores. Yesterday I had explained you very clearly that there are 4 components of budget, right? So budget estimate of this year, budget estimate of the last year, revised estimate of the last year, and actuals of even the previous year, right? All 4 components are put here. So when you see the receipts are on the left and expenditure is on the right, you will be easily able to segregate. You should analyze this later. What is the revenue deficit? What is the fiscal deficit of the government? And what is the effective revenue deficit of the government? We'll be able to create through this data, right? So teaching how to fish rather than giving you the fish. So if you see receipts have been revenue receipts have been 22 lakh crore, and this is the proposed for this year, right? This is the estimate for the budget, and capital receipts will be 17 lakh crores. So we are planning that we will receive around 39 lakh crore this year, 39 lakh crore. And last year what we received was, these are the actuals. So what we received was 20 plus 17, 37 lakh crore. And what we spended last year was 31 plus 6, 37 lakh crore. Oh yes, the receipts and expenditure have to be exactly same. For the last year, for this proposed year also, they have to be same. Why? Because they calculate not only our receipts or the spendings, but along with that borrowings as well. All right, so that is why they have to be, amounts have to be equal. This side, addition of this and this, and addition of this and this have to be equal. Similarly, addition of what was proposed or actual has to be equal, because the rest of the fragment is matched by the loans that we have taken. All right. So effectively we had, let me give you the summary. We had planned that we will spend 34 lakh crores, but we spent 37 lakh crores. Now we have planned spending 39 lakh crores, right? So this was for the last year. This was the revised estimate, and then actual will be presented for this particular year in the next year. 39 lakh crore we have planned this time. But do you know for this expenditure of 37 lakh crore, how much was the total receipt apart from borrowings? I hope you understand what I'm saying. How much did we borrow and how much was the total receipt with us? 22 lakhs. Only 22 lakh crore. So rest of it was borrowings that included the interest payment. So we are in good amount of debt. This is the clear indication. Samajh rahe ho? I've been quick to make you understand, but are you getting what I'm saying? If you're not, repeat this video and you will understand this part of it, right? So when you look at the 4 priorities, Amrit Kal, keyword, Prime Minister, Finance Minister, everybody using Amrit Kal, the time between 75 years of independence and 100 years of independence. This is a perspective plan, but being, calling it as a perspective plan is good, but they have planned, small stepwise as well, right? So looking at next 25 years, but looking at the growth every 2 to 3 years. This is the reason that government now proposes programs which will run for 2 to 3 years, and then they subsequently revamp the program in next 2 to 3 years and then release another program. For example, Portion 1, Portion 2.0. Similarly, programs like Udaan 1, Udaan 2, Udaan 3, Udaan 4, so many of them. So the first component of the focus was PM Gati Shakti, 7 components of infrastructure development. Second component is inclusive development. I was correct. Third component, productivity enhancement, sunrise opportunities, energy transition, climate change. And fourth one is financing of all these investment. This will be a hybrid model. Government will participate through, private partnership as well, right? So a decent amount of this we covered yesterday. Let me show you the quick analysis of this budget, right? So it says 9.2% expansion of GDP in the financial year 2022. 9.2 this year, present year, and next year predicted is 8 to 8.5, right? Then it says FDI inflows have reduced this year as compared to last year. CPI and WPI differences. CPI is decent inflation because of food prices, because of international oil prices, consumed items, and for WPI there's a different supply side constraint because of which this is rising, right? Merchandise export, yes, very good growth in this because India is also participating in the disruptive change. So in Gati Shakti, now we are getting into details of this, right? Rationale of budget, we have finished, we have covered the concepts. Quickly getting into the components, the 4 components of the budget. So first one is Gati Shakti. The government has planned 7 components, 7 heads under this. So 7 engines: road, railway, airport, ports, mass transport, waterways, logistics. We covered in government schemes last year, pre-exam. During that time we covered government schemes. We had 25 videos on government schemes, and if you look at the infrastructure sector, we covered each of them. So road sector, Bharatmala. This year we have planned 25,000 kilometer coverage. Aha, do you have to remember this? No. You have to know the intention of the government. The intention of the government, and you have to use these words, 7 key engines. Gati Shakti, right? What about national investment pipeline, national monetization pipeline? Yeah, these are the words for you to use. Don't remember 25,000 kilometers of increasing of road or highways. Railways, government has also revamped railways and introduced safety measures, new Vande Bharat trains, right? Mixing and integrating post offices network with railway networks. Airports, Udaan scheme, port-based development. What is it? We are talking of the Sagarmala, right? Mass transport like metro rail, right? Waterways in the country. We have discussed waterways. And logistics infrastructure. Yes, this is an important one, right? Logistics infrastructure. This is what we have started. Another one, right? So 4 integrated logistics park will be created, and many hundreds of terminals for logistics will be created. So what are these terminals? I must make you understand. So where there is a example is JNPT, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. Now this is a seaport. Along with this seaport, if this is the seaport, so ship comes here, we have to have a terminal through which the crane will be able to pick up the goods and put it on the train container. So there has to be a train line. There have to be infrastructure for the cargoes, right? So we have to have big heavy lift cranes here, and then a train line running here, right here. Along with train line, we also have to have approach road where trucks can come. Approach road for trucks, and trucks can also have their facility to pick up these goods to circulate at places nearby. Not only that, we also need an airstrip, so that if the CMD of Air India wants to land here, right, the Tata Sons, they want to land, they can come here. We need an airstrip. We need ways in which it can be transported through air also, right? Udan scheme. So so this is what is called as an integrated multimodal transport network. All right, we are looking at 4 of them right now with this budget, right? And Gati Shakti National Master Plan. So now see, what is this? The investment that we are doing here is for capital asset creation. Capital asset creation, right? This is the one which is going to balance the short-term measures, right? So remember, one part of the barbell was for focusing on the agility approach, but this capital asset on the other hand will be for the times to come. When we are creating these highways, network of waterways, we are going to help people in the longer run reduce their expenses. See, so this is the safety net we are creating for the times to come. If we wanted to create another kind of safety net by giving them salaries, money for this year, that could have worked, but that would have worked only for 1 year. What about the times to come? This is the safety net that we are creating of, right? So this is the reason for infrastructure creation. Look at the keywords here: unified logistics interface platform, online platform to view where my product is, right? Open source mobility stack, right? And then we also have one station, one product, right? Localized business travel, Kavach. Kavach is the security measure being used on Indian trains. So this will be increased now on, right? So these are only key points. The finance minister used this, and so does the budget document everywhere. So we are using those key. Mass urban transport system, Parvatmala. If you remember Parvatmala, we had spoken. This is the network of the ropeways in high altitude regions. See, so this will help in disaster management planning. This will help in ecological sustenance. The finance minister has spoken this, not me. I remember them, right? So not only ecological connectivity, ecological revamping, right? Ecological issues, for example, creation of roads is not possible, or even if it is possible, it is expensive. Let's create these Parvatmala network of ropeways, National Ropeway Development Program, right? Along with that, tourism. She spoke of this, not me, right? So, and you will also speak of this now on, right? So this is what is required. Second, inclusive development. So this was not a populist budget. A lot of people have said this was not a populist budget. Even considering the elections, it has not been a populist budget, a good budget. So agricultural, developments have happened, right? But they didn't pay heed to MSP or raising the MSP targets. They just mentioned that some amount will be disbursed to MSP. So many lakhs of farmers will be covered, right? And then chemical-free natural farming will be promoted, starting with a 5-kilometer strip along Ganga River, right? This is another one. Along with that, this is the year of millets, International Year of Millets, and therefore millet production and oilseed production, this will be encouraged in our country. Kisan drones, drone as a service will be given to people. All right, what else? Interlinking project, 5 river interlinking project have been proposed, budgeted here, and you should just know where these places are. So Godavari, Krishna Pennar, Kaveri, and then Tapi and Narmada, and Daman, Ganga and Pinjal. These are the 5 river projects. MSME credit line will be enhanced, right? Portals will be created so that people receive finances, emergency credit at adequate time. So now look at this, MSMEs. Connect this with the data that I always mentioned, 10, 30, 50. Part of export, part of GDP, part of the employment. 10 crore of employment, right? Almost 50% of export, considering almost 30% of India's economy, GDP. So considering these components, the knowledge that you already had, add this knowledge to it, right? That we are trying to look at digitizing the MSME portals. Skill development and drone will also be taken in as part of this, right? Imparting quality education. So focus has been there on digital teaching, digital teachers. This is one. Focus has been then or imparting education for supplementary education. That is the word, supplementary education, for covering the education gaps. This is the second keyword. Another keyword was using of regional languages to limiting the disparity. Not everybody understands Hindi and English, right? So these are the important developments here. Development of quality e-content, right? Not only videos, PDFs, but questions as well, handwritten answers. Edukemy is doing this. And creation of one digital university which will be working pan-India with the hub and spoke model. Hub and spoke is this, right? So, hub, tire hub, and then spokes. So this one university will have models, will have consoles which people can use it throughout the whole country. IGNOU is a good example of this. IGNOU, based in Delhi University, it has got various regional centers. So we'll have this digital university, right? It will have a standard model and people can utilize this model for creation or proliferation of digital universities around the whole country. Inclusive health. Okay. So we have spent a decent amount on health already, right? They will be revamping of health structure. For example, if you remember the mass level insurance scheme, health and wellness centers, revamping of all of them, 1.5 lakh of them. What about the Jan Arogya Yojana, Prime Minister's Jan Arogya Yojana? So these are another areas of focus. Telemental health program. So first time we are also focusing on telemental health programs because of the side effects of the pandemic. So around 23 of them will be created, right? Like call centers, and you can seek aid from them. There will be renewed focus on women. Now see, this is the safety net which I was speaking of. Agility approach is fine, but safety net, where is it? This is the safety approach. Mission Shakti, Mission Vatsalya, Saksham, Anganwadi, Poshan 2. Quickly look at it. Mission Shakti is the one to empower the women, Shakti, right? Enable them strength, strengthen them, their protection. Mission Vatsalya, protection of the Jacha Bacha, mother and the child, right? Schemes around that. Saksham Anganwadi, Anganwadi centers will be digitized, will be empowered with clean energy, with better resources, infrastructure. They will be revamped, right? So empowering the people. Poshan 2 Abhiyan for small children 0 to 6 and their mothers, right? So look at this. This is the safety net that we are creating alongside, right? Inclusive development for providing piped or potable drinking water, housing for people. There will be development. Don't remember the figures, 80 lakh houses or 8 crore people already getting this water and 3 crore more to be supplied. No, don't remember the data. Remember the essence of it, right? Because these data will change the next year. So approximation should be there with you, right? Prime Minister is also looking at, developing the underdeveloped areas. For example, one is Northeast, so the special initiative for Northeast, and the other one is Vibrant Village program for the border areas. All right. Aspirational blocks or districts which are not performing at par, they will also be of high focus. See, inclusive development, this is all is inclusive development. Then post office integration with the banks, right? So part of core banking solutions, and digital banks will be created. Digital banks means not a physical presence, but online presence, 75 locations in the country. All right. So this is a part of the inclusive development. All right. This is the third part of productivity enhancement. See, getting back, just have a look at what we explained right now. In totality, this part of inclusive development included what? This is the other part of the barbell. When a barbell has to be lifted, it has to be balanced. Otherwise, this will become stronger and this will become weak. So both of the parts have to be balanced. While the government is spending much on the agility approach, it must also spend on the maintenance of this net. Inclusive development is that net. Capital expenditure on infrastructure creation is that net. So agriculture, river linking project, MSME sector, skill development, education, health sector, infrastructure like housing, water availability, amenities, underdeveloped areas, right? For example, border areas or northeast areas, banking. See, so this is the other side of the barbell. Not a lot of people will be able to understand this approach, but now you do. So please start representing this through images also in your answers, in your exam. Not everybody would know. This is the edge that you create for yourself. And this is not free of cost for you. You have spent time, you have participated in so many conversations, debates here, and this is what has resulted into it, right? And each day we learn something. This is something new that we learned today. Please use this. Third one is productivity enhancement, sunrise opportunities, energy transition, and climate change. See, so now this is the one through which India is trying to enter into the global fora, a new disruption, good disruption, productivity enhancement. See, sunrise opportunities, energy and climate transition. So ease of doing business too and ease of living, because India will develop a good mass of population in urban areas. There will be faster green clearances through a better Parivesh app, knowing which are the components. So one app, Parivesh, has been created for integrated clearance of green clearances of projects. Only one place. So one will be able to know through a better revamped app what are the places which are lagging, where clearances needs to be done. E-passport. Now we will have a passport which has a chip put into it. So physically going to a visa officer and then having this conversation, where are you coming from, where are you going, this interrogation will reduce only in suspicious cases. Otherwise, e-passport is the feature through which one can easily, go ahead, swipe their passport and move ahead to security check-ins. Urban development, right, will have to be looked at. So urban development through development of tier 2, tier 3 cities, planning of these cities, right? They have also planned to set up universities for these studies of these cities, right? Land record management, automation of land records. You know this, you have started to use this in language. Accelerated corporate exit. See, startup, 60,000 startups in our country, more than 10,000 in the last 6 months. But exit of these industries is a very tough thing. So they have planned to reduce the exit time from 2 years to 6 months. Government procurement. It will be ensured that the procurement happens and the government is paid. If the government is the one which is giving the product, the 75% of the payment happens within 10 days. This is one. And government procurement will have to be also rationalized. All right. AVGC, important keyword. You would not have heard many times. Animation, visual effect, gaming and comic. ये question अलग से ही बन जाएगा. This is, youth participates in animation, visual effects, gaming, and the comic industry, right? So they are trying to rope in this also. They will form a task force for this right now. Telecom sectors, auctions of 5G to be conducted this year. Export promotion, right? You know this part. So increasing the export promotion zones and revamping this custom zone areas, right? Atmanirbharta in defense. See, one example of how the government is trying to increase the expenditure and Atmanirbhar example. Last year, government spent 60% of its defense outlay, capital outlay. For example, purchase of tanks, aircraft. It spent 60% of on India's industry. This time it is spending 70% on Indian industries, right? So this ensures that stakeholders, foreign stakeholders who are participating with us, they will not be creating it in their country. They will be coming to India, participate in Make in India and create these industrial goods in India. So this increases long-term job opportunities, skill development, right? Ability for Indians, sunrise opportunities in many sectors, semiconductor, green energy, pharmaceuticals, genomics, geospatial systems, AI, clean mobility, sunrise opportunities. All right. So each of them becomes an important question only. Circular economy, carbon neutrality, these are it about the sunrise industries and sectors. How do we finance them? So only few keywords to be noted here, only few keywords. For example, one of the keyword to be noted here is how the government has planned this outlay. The government has planned this outlay through the help of participatory financing, right? We'll get into that word right now, but let me quickly show you what are the components of this. All right. So this is a virtual cycle of investment, right? Government will start putting in money, 20% of money in some of the projects, and the private sector will be roped in, crowd in private investment after government initially puts in the money, right? So this is one. It clearly mentions that the outlay for capital expenditure in union budget has been stepped up sharply by 35.4%, right? Effective capital expenditure has only increased with time, right? Let me show this to you. Effective capital investment in infrastructure has increased. So we must know now what is the increase and what has been the capital expenditure. See, this is an important part. It must be brought to light. All right. See, these are the expenditures. Revenue expenditure, expenditure on interest payment, expenditure on salaries, expenditure on payment of some kind of expenditure which government doesn't want to reveal, revenue expenditure. So this is 32 lakh crore and proposed for this year is 7.5 lakh crore on capital. It is how much? Around 20%. This is around 20% of the whole budget. So only 20% of the budget is capital. And last year it was even less. Last year it was 5.5 lakh crore out of and 30 lakh crore for revenue. So last year it was less and now we are increasing it to 7.5 lakh crore. We are talking of this entity being increased. Capital expenditure, capital outlay has been increased. Very good. But still overall it is less. Why? Because we have high interest payments, high salary payments, government perks and subsidies. All of them are the revenue expenditure for us, right? Similarly, when you see the receipts, revenue receipts are 22 lakh crore proposed and capital receipts are 17 lakh crore. This is where the interest payment and the borrowings are accounted for along with other capital inputs for us, right? So now you know very clearly that we were spending 5.5 lakh crore. Now we are spending 7.5 lakh crore, but see the amount we spend in revenue expenditure is actually very high. All right. This is what has increased in finances. Okay. All right. There are other ways to increase the finance. For example, taxation. Taxation has the basis has to be widened, right? The tax norms revision has to be done. Yesterday only somebody asked a very good question. How can India ensure a $5 trillion economy without revamping the tax structure? It cannot happen because the effectively revenue, one of the important sources for revenue is the tax revenues. Not only non-tax but tax revenues. Lot of it is dependent. Imagine if we are roping in 1.5 lakh crores from indirect taxes per month, right? Indirect taxes into 12, this becomes 17 lakh crore only from indirect taxes. This is a good amount provided we are able to maintain this for this sector, indirect tax collection, right? So now you are able to understand, no, 40 lakh crore expenditure if we are proposing, if we are having 17 lakh crore from indirect taxes, let us have some more from the direct tax collection. I will show this to you later. So this is it. We are looking at understanding the whole budget in just one go. So commendations to you guys, really. So when you look at this image, fiscal deficit, the long-term planning of fiscal deficit, not be sure. Why? Because we are looking at agile approach. So we are looking at consolidation. Yes, right now 6.9% of fiscal deficit. That means the effective payment that we are doing, this is 6.9% of the GDP. But if you look at the budget, it is far higher. Around 40% of the budget is our is deficit, right? So but of GDP it is 6.9%. We are looking at reducing it to 6.4%. Now this is how you will be able to understand how we are trying to reduce the revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit and primary deficit, right? Revenue deficit only for that year's expenditure and incoming money. Fiscal deficit for overall deficit. This largely means the borrowings, and this borrowing does include the interest payment. Okay. All right. So this is an update from here. See, budget estimate. This is for the last year, yeah. This is for this year, currently ending in the month of March. 37 lakh we spent, but how much did we receive? Yeah, we received only 23 lakh crore. We received 23 lakh crore. We spent 38 lakh crore. See the difference. How did we gather this money? Rest of it. borrowings, and we have to pay a lot of money for interest payment also, right? So this does not become sustainable. You will understand in the traditional economy that if we keep on paying interest, we will become a part of the debt trap. This is what many European countries are into, right? So we must reduce on our borrowings. We must reduce on especially the external borrowings, because if we borrow through putting of bonds in the international market, this bond will become mature at a date, and then we will have to pay back the money. How will we pay? We don't have money. So now we will print more, that will lead to inflation. It will lead to some kind of trap for the economy. We will have to sell government assets. We will have to sell government assets to be able to pay back. So this will be the situation if we do not mend our fiscal ways, right? So this is what we are expected for the next year, 6.4% of GDP. But if you are asked the good points, you will present both the sides of the barbell. But if you are asked the shortcomings or the criticism of the budget, you will definitely speak that in long term, this particular barbell strategy is not the watershed, waterfall strategy, and therefore in the long term we do not know if the fiscal deficit will actually get reduced or not. So you know it all right now. You not only know the content, you also know the analysis of it. Very good. All right, direct tax collection, cooperative society, taxation to be equal as to corporate taxes. All these are not important things, but you should just go through them for once, right? Incentives for people with disabled children. All right, good. Rationalization of surcharge, health and taxes, tax deduction at source. All right. What is important here? Just swipe through this, go through this sector quickly. Yeah, tax collection. And then which are the sectors which are actually receiving the advantages? Electronic sector, gems and jewelry, because India is one of the major exporters of gems and jewelry. So incentives to see, India does not have gems and jewelry. We import it and we export it after processing. Surat, gems capital of the world, right? Chemical industry, MSMEs, and blending of fuel. If we do not start blending of ethanol, then those places which are not blending ethanol by the year 2023, 2035, this is the target, they'll have to pay extra 5 rupees per liter. Simple enough. 2 rupees per liter, right? So these are some of the sectors, specific proposals around them. All right. So this is the analysis, and I have also, ensured an analysis is done for you. Prudent expenditure strategy. This is the reason that we need a prudent expenditure strategy, right? Crowding in private investments through virtuous investment-led cycles, right? All right. So this is how the government becomes a catalyst for growth. Catalyst for growth. Government is not growing. It is not investing everywhere. It is wanting the private sector to rope in money after it puts the basic money. This will also provide a roadmap for economic revival during the times of extreme uncertainty. All right. Good keywords to be used. All right. What else? It lays the foundation of Digital India 2.0. How come? Digital universities, e-passports, drone as a service. There are too many examples for you to use. AVGC, right? All of them. So this is the update from the section of budget, right? All right. So what did we miss here? People are questioning here. So no income tax change. No income tax rebates, extra rebates for general people, right? Premature on production linked incentive schemes. So we are withdrawing prematurely after 3 years of introduction of this scheme, right? Employment crisis, not increasing employment is a crisis, yes, but then we are trying to increase through capital outlays. So you can criticize this measure also. What happens to the layman, the blue collared worker, the daily wage worker? Missing focus on health, right? So infrastructure creation has been focused, but the outlay for health has not jumped as much, right? Use the shortcoming that I mentioned, right? The barbell strategy and the waterfall. Debt market, rural economy, right? These are some of the things that the government did not focus on in this particular budget. All right. So this is a quick conclusion to what we studied, quite a bit. But I hope it was interesting and beneficial for you people. Let me see if there are some questions. So you say, what have you said here? Let me look at the comments. Hi MK, good evening. More capital expenditure in infrastructure. Yes, Somik, absolutely. Good evening, Mithun. Suits the theme of the video. All right, understood. Hi, Ramesh. All right. Nitish, agile is all about iterative feedback system to move ahead with changes efficiently. Yes, yes. Agility is about feedback loops, quick feedback loops, right? But it does not address the long-term concern. Okay. Theoretical approach, theoretically, right? But then if we are creating capital assets, that is going to help in the long term. So you can balance this also. Analysis. These are the analysis of it, right? So one is the factual part of the budget, one is the conceptual part of the budget, and the third is the analysis of it. All three have to go in sync, just like economic survey and budget went in sync, right, Nitish? All right. What is next? The question here is it necessary to write data while writing the answer? Somik, not necessary to write data, depending on the kind of answer it is. If we are talking about infrastructure creation, do not talk about the length of the roads that we are going to create. But you definitely can talk about what is the proportion in which national investment pipeline will participate in infrastructure creation. For example, national monetization pipeline will be able to create around 6 lakh crore for the national government, right? Somik says, DFC, dedicated freight corridor, will provide impetus to Sagarmala. Yes, not only Sagarmala, but also Bharatmala, freight corridors. Pooja sir, please explain this graph again. The graph? Okay, I will. Finance Minister also said GST collections for month of Jan 2002 highest. Yes, Netra. Yeah. Thank you for representing this. 1.4 lakh crore. Very happily she declared this. All right. Something else that you have to ask, please put them down right here and I will explain that part quickly. Before that, what did we discuss here? We discussed some concepts, right? So those four concepts of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit, and another deficit, right? All four are very, very important concepts. They are asked in the pre-exam, UPSC pre-exam. Do remember them, each of them. And if you know the actual data of what is the level of fiscal primary deficit, this will be very, very beneficial for you, because you will have you'll have the heart to understand what is India going through, what are other countries going through. So concepts, we discussed them. We understood the philosophy of India's budget for this year, the barbell versus the traditional approach of waterfall. Barbell has two sides balancing each other, agility and the safety nets. We understood the philosophy of the budget. We discussed the complete budget in details. We understood the four various stress points of the budget, and we understood the new schemes that were released by the government. We will also have another separate video on schemes, right? So we understood this complete budget here, and we also analyzed the budget. Why this strategy? What are the shortcomings? Where we missed out? And this is how we complete the budget discussion today, right? And for a few of you, let me quickly, yes, if you like this initiative, do share some love through likes, comments and shares, right? If you subscribe to the channel, you will receive timely updates for such interesting videos. And Pooja was looking forward to a quick understanding on this part. Pooja, some background will have to be cleared for this this one to be understood. I think you spoke of this one. Fiscal deficit. So this is the way we are looking at reduction of fiscal deficit. It rose suddenly from around 5 to 6% to 9.2% because our earnings were less, expenditure was quite a lot in the last year and in this year as well. So we have reduced down to 6.9% of fiscal deficit right now. Extra spendings have been 6.9% of the GDP. This amounts to around 14 lakh crore. Huge amount for the budget, right? If we are able to mop up 23 lakh crore last year and extra spendings are 13 lakh crore, imagine this. And 13 lakh crore mein, if we segregate this, I don't have the actual figure, it would come to, say, example, 7 lakh crore is the pumping of money for borrowings, and 7 lakh crore or 5 lakh crore will be the interest payment. Can you imagine this kind of burden? We are only paying interest. Not good, no? So this is fiscal deficit. And then we have something called as revenue deficit. Revenue deficit means for this year only, what was the deficit in earning that we could not manage to have, right? Earnings less and expenditure more. This is for this particular year, right? And for how is this balanced? This is balanced through last year's or capital expenditure, capital outlays, right? So this is balanced through capital receipts. I'm sorry, capital receipts. But if capital receipts again are lesser than the revenue, the capital expenditure, then we will start taking loans, right? So revenue is only for this year. This is also going to decrease. Fiscal deficit is going to decrease in the short term. And then we also have two more terms called as primary deficit and effective revenue deficit. See, effective revenue deficit, ERD, which is the one? As I have explained, yes, effective revenue deficit. Yes, this is the one. The one in orange is the effective revenue deficit. This is the revenue deficit which is going to get utilized for revenue purposes only. If the amount that was used in revenue deficit was in capital expenditure creation, this is good. Exclude this. Effective revenue deficit, which is actually something that could have been reduced, they are reducing on this also. Very good. And primary deficit is another deficit that we are speaking of, right? So primary deficit is the amount that has been spent for borrowings minus interest payments. Is it possible that the primary deficit becomes zero? Yes, why not? If the borrowings are only for interest payment, then primary deficit becomes zero. All right, this is very good. That means we are not borrowing for the purpose of taking in more money, but only borrowing so that we have to ensure that the interest payment is paid. Last year's interest payment is paid, right? So this is the explanation of this complete picture of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit. And mind you, this comes in the examination. This does come, the concepts do come. The data will not come about this, but the concepts will come in the main examination. This data can be represented very, very smartly. All right. So through this, we come to the conclusion of this conversation. There are questions, there are doubts, please put them. I will be happy to discuss all of them. We will get enriched through this knowledge. And instead of going into multiple sources, if you look into this beautiful document, we have worked on this and we are there to support you to provide answers to questions, right? So point being, try to remember this, memorize this. This is the core document with the help of which you will be able to sort a lot of questions for the coming year and even the next year. This will give the foundation for you for the next year as well, right? So please do this religiously and you will see the difference. All right. So what are the questions here? Sir, do a favor by marking a flowchart barbell approach considering agility and safety measure. Okay, Somik says he wants a barbell in which I'm marking what is happening on left side and what is on the right side. All right, why not? But it's fairly an easy thing, Somik. I'll do it. I'll show it to you. But Ravi says, but the government did not talk about commitments which were to be met in the following financial year. Example, doubling of farmers' income, creating of jobs. See, these were the promises, election promises. Doubling of farmers' income, creation of jobs, right? So when we double farmers' income, it is revenue payments. It is revenue payments, MSP, no? When we are creating more jobs, direct jobs by MNREGS or other schemes, then it is direct payment of money from the government end. So this is what government has, these are the criticism of it. On the other hand, is government working on doubling farmer income or creation of jobs? Yes, through capital infrastructure creation, not through direct payment, not through revenue expenditure, but through capital expenditure. That is the reason I showed you increase from 5.5 to 7.5 lakhs, right, Ravi? So depending on the kind of question you encounter, your language will change automatically. If they say that these are the areas of not given focus, absolutely true. If they say that, if they ask you, are these the areas not given focus, you will not say yes, these are the areas which have not been given focus. You will say that revenue expenditure in these areas has been less. However, capital expenditure in these areas have only grown. Skill development, digital initiatives, digital teachers, right? So giving them skills, increasing farmers' income through newer strategies, drone management, right? Creation of Gati Shakti hubs. All right, got it. So thank you for asking these questions. My brain also starts to exercise in a very, very good manner. I start to lift dumbbells in my head. This is what I want you people to do while you answer the questions, right? Thank you for questioning this, and participating in this beautiful session. Somik says not getting the PDF. Don't worry, you will get the PDF uploaded very soon. The PDF was uploaded while I was in the middle of the class. Or it was available to us while I was in the middle of the class. It will get uploaded very soon. Nothing to worry. All right. So thank you for participating. We'll see you tomorrow evening. And in this meanwhile, important task for you. Look at this document, look at this video, understand it. Questions, please post them. Thank you and good night. You like this initiative enough? Share some love.